The LGBT members are our brothers and sisters. We cannot afford to send them to jail for being who they are and for loving who they love. I stand with the LGBTQ community. This law of Anti-Homosexuality Act of 2023 is nothing but a waste of taxpayers' money. The law is incapable of implementation without violating people's rights to liberty, privacy, and decent human treatment. No wonder no single person has ever been charged or convicted of homosexuality under the existing laws. My name is Counsel Robert Rutalo. I have petitioned the Constitutional Court challenging the constitutionality of the Anti-Homosexuality Act 2023, void petition, constitutional petition number 16 of 2023, Advocate Rutaro Robert versus the Artoney General of Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, you may remember on the 2nd May 2023, the Parliament of Uganda passed a bill known as the Anti-Homosexuality Bill, and the same was subsequently assented to by the President of Uganda and became law. As a law-abiding citizen of Uganda, an advocate of the courts of judicature, defender of human rights, abiding by the rule of law, democracy, and good governance, I am aggrieved by the passing of this law, as the same is not only dangerous, but also discriminatory and unnecessary. The law conflicts with Uganda's constitutional provisions stipulating equality and non-discrimination for all. It runs counter to Uganda's international legal obligations on human rights and political commitments on sustainable development, and therefore the law actively puts the rights, health and safety of Ugandans at grave risk. Accordingly, I have petitioned the Constitutional Court to nullify this law on the following grounds. 1. The law is discriminatory, dangerous, and shameful, likely to lead to the increase of HIV/AIDS, creating homophobia and transphobia among a certain section of our community. The law is null and void as it contradicts and is inconsistent with several provisions of the Constitution as stipulated in my petition. The law therefore breaks the law. The law is likely to and is already affecting Uganda's relationship with development partners, many of whom are already threatening to freeze or suspend bilateral aid to Uganda, thereby putting the lives of many Ugandans at grave risk in the areas of health systems, education, and agriculture. This law is advanced and supported by the wealthy political cabal, the members of parliament, for their own selfish political agenda, who do not care about the economic suffering of the common man. The poverty of Ugandans is their joy. The sanctions will not affect these politicians because their salaries are guaranteed, but you and me, the common people. There are already in existence sufficient laws under the Penal Code to address matters of same-sex relationship, and therefore this law of Anti-Homosexuality Act of 2023 is nothing but a waste of taxpayers' money. The law is incapable of implementation without violating people's rights to liberty, privacy, and decent human treatment. No wonder no single person has ever been charged or convicted of homosexuality under the existing laws. You cannot criminalize an adult consensual sexual behavior. The law confuses consensual and non-consensual relationships. The former should never be criminalized, and the latter requires evidence-based measures to end all forms of sexual violence, including against women, children, regardless of the sexual orientation of the perpetrator. Let's be clear. This is not about values, but rather promoting the violence and discrimination against people for who they are and for who they love, which is dangerous and dishonest attempt to justify this injustice under the guise of values. The law should therefore be called out and condemned. The behavior of homosexuality is as old as mankind. Even the Bible talks about it. You know about the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. We have lived with it since time immemorial. So why is it becoming an issue now? The behavior is harmless to society. Show me one person who has died from homosexuality or a family. We condemn the recruitment and involvement of children in sexual behaviors of whatever type, as that would tantamount to sexual violence against children. Whoever is found culpable involving children should be dealt with in accordance with children protection laws forbidding sexual intercourse with children below 18 years, male or female. This is the only useful part of this law, which could have been introduced by way of amending the existing law. Under this law, landlords, owners of hotels, face prison for renting their premises to homosexual people. Journalists, including yourselves who are here, face prison for talking about homosexuality. Lawyers face prison for defending homosexuals. Imagine that. This is economic sabotage. Government does not pay our bills. How then can the government dictate to me who to work for and who I shouldn't work for? Does government pay for me rent for my office? Does government feed your children at home to say don't talk about this? If it feeds you to talk about it, why shouldn't anyone talk about it? We have a right to freedom of expression and speech under the Constitution of Uganda. Further, the law makes it an offense not to report anyone you suspect of being a homosexual. This is a reckless provision, susceptible to be abused. A lot of people who have misunderstandings with each other are going to report them to police station that so and so is the homosexual, simply because they have a land wrangle or they have any other misunderstanding. So this is a very, very bad and dangerous provision of the law. So the law is likely to be abused, either for political purposes or for settling scores. A lot of Ugandans don't see sense in this law, but they are afraid to speak up against it. There is a lot of blackmail and society biasness against whoever speaks against this unjust law. I urge all right-thinking members of Uganda to speak up objectively about this law. Don't accept to be intimidated or threatened by anyone. It's your right to speak. This level of intolerance against divergent views is undemocratic. Personally, I am happily married to one most beautiful woman on earth called Shami. But that has not stopped me from standing with the LGBT community in the defense of their right to be who they want to be. Just because I am married does not mean that the LGBTQ community member is not a human being. Okay? So, I urge all Ugandans who do not agree with this stupid law to stand with me to fight it in the defense of human rights for all, democracy, and good governance of our country. The LGBT members are our brothers and sisters. We cannot afford to send them to jail for being who they are and for loving who they love. I stand with the LGBTQ community for God and my country.